Cleanup crews are hard at work following the tornadoes in North Dallas on Sunday. We'll have a live report.
Plus, find out how to make your voice heard during this upcoming election season. We'll tell you more about early voting access.
Counties in Ohio reached a settlement with major pharmaceutical corporations. We'll tell you more about the case.
From the Mayborn School of Journalism at the University of North Texas, this is NT Daily News.
This building, for all purposes right now, is unusable because probably 30 to 35% of the classrooms have damage in them.
Cleanup is still underway after tornadoes touched down in North Dallas, destroying homes, stores, and more. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jeremy Beedling.
And I'm Brianna Adams. NT Daily's Gavin Dunaway is live with a look at the damage.
I'm live here in North Dallas where several tornadoes swept through the area, and as you can see behind me, they've caused a lot of damage. It all started on Sunday night when multiple tornadoes touched down around North Dallas. Officials say no one was killed or badly injured, but the storms knocked out power while also damaging homes and businesses, including the Dallas Lutheran School.
The roof trusses came off and part of the roof came off, and with that came a bunch of holes in the ceiling. And actually there was just as much damage later that night when the rainstorms came through, because then all the water came through the holes that were already up in the roof.
Bangert says that it's too soon to tell what the total cost of damages to the school will be. The city of Dallas is partnering with the Red Cross to provide food and shelter to those who have been displaced by the storm. Also, by noon, Dallas Fire Rescue had completed more than 60% of its total damage assessments, and they expect to have that finished by the end of the day. Reporting live in Dallas, I'm Gavin Dunaway, NT Daily News.
Dallas ISD says 3 of its schools will close indefinitely following the aftermath of the tornadoes on Sunday. Students and staff from the 3 affected schools, Cary Middle School, Jefferson High School, and Walnut Hill Elementary, will relocate to different campuses starting tomorrow.
A Southlake woman was convicted last week on 2 felony drug charges for selling opioids to people without prescriptions. Susan Megwa and her husband ran a pharmacy in Denton called Meg's Discount Drugs, and court records indicate they laundered more than $200,000 they made selling opioids without prescriptions. 2 Ohio counties settled out of court yesterday with 4 major pharmaceutical companies. The 4 companies will pay the counties more than $200 million for their part in aiding the opioid epidemic. This was supposed to be the first major multi-district federal case putting pharmaceutical companies on trial, but a deal made early Monday morning dismissed the trial. One major plaintiff, Walgreens, was left out of the case, with the company putting out a statement saying, "We never sold opioid medications to pain clinics, internet pharmacies, or pill mills that fueled the national opioid crisis." Walgreens will likely have to defend itself again, as this case was the first of more than 2,700 plaintiff community cases across the U.S. While the companies face financial penalties, thousands of Americans, some in our own community, face the very real struggle of opioid addiction.
You know, and I'm not saying anything negative toward doctors, but we just have a tendency to trust them and not ask questions and just assume that if they give us something, it's safe. And I mean, as far as like FDA standards, the substance, the drugs are safe, opioids are safe per se, but many people, a high number of people who take opioids misuse them. And so an addiction can occur. And we have, problem, back to the pharmaceutical companies. Part of the reason they're under fire right now is in the 90s, there was a big push from them telling doctors and informing doctors and the public that opioids were safe, that they were fine to use. So that we know that's not true.
If you or anyone you know is having trouble with substance abuse, you can go to the UNT Department of Rehabilitation and Health Services for help.
Denton police want to warn you, people are being robbed shortly after visiting bank ATMs. It's called jugging, when criminals follow bank customers to their next destination and steal their money. The Denton Police Department recently put out a warning on Twitter. In less than 4 months, DPD has received 8 reports of jugging. Over $20,000 has been taken from victims. With the holidays approaching, everyone is encouraged to remain vigilant of their surroundings and to not leave any valuables, especially cash, unattended in their vehicles. Date rape and sexual assault numbers on college campuses are up, according to victim advocacy groups. NT Daily's Reese Conkle takes a look at what is happening at universities across the nation and right here in Denton.
The UNT Police Department is investigating a trio of sexual assaults that recently occurred on the university's campus. Campus police believe one man is responsible for all three offenses, and they have identified and banned him from the school until the investigation is over. Unfortunately, Denton is not the only college town with these kinds of issues. According to RAIN.org, 11.2% of college students will experience sexual assault through means of physical force, violence, or incapacitation. That number jumps to 23.1% when just referring to undergraduate females. There are several factors that can contribute to these numbers, and UNT Police Sergeant Kevin Crawford believes minimizing those is key.
When you start doing those type things, those things are kind of prevalent at college campuses. Is, you know, like I said, people, you know, I've heard people use the explanation like it's the college experience to go out and consume alcohol and to take drugs and things like that. But the truth is, that's not really the college experience. College experience is about making good memories, good friends, and getting a great education.
The problem a lot of enforcement agencies run into with sex crimes like these is they aren't even aware that they've happened. Only 1 in 5 victims actually report the crimes to their campus police department. According to Sergeant Crawford, it takes regular outreach and the buildup of trust to help victims feel comfortable enough to report their offenders.
These things are happening. We know they happen, and people being comfortable to come to the police department or come to the university to report them means that we can also get them to the resources they need to get back on the path of recovery.
For NT Daily News, I'm Reese Conkle.
If you have been a victim of sexual assault and are looking for confidential help, you can contact the SAFE helpline at 940-995-5247.
Texas House Speaker Dennis Bonin has announced he will not seek re-election. This statement comes after an audio recording was released last week by Empower Texans, a nonprofit that promotes holding elected officials accountable, that called into question Bonin's ethics. In the leaked audio, Bonin can be heard offering Empower Texas CEO Michael Sullivan something in exchange for targeting GOP candidates in the 2020 primaries.
Early voting has started in Denton. At the ballot box in Denton, you'll have the chance to vote on $200 million in bonds. NT Daily Diana Davis tells us what that money would pay for.
There are 4 propositions residents can now vote on. Voters can expect to see bonds related to fixing streets, repairing the police department, acquiring land for parks, and securities for public art. I got a chance to talk to Patterson Arts Center's executive director, who says investing in Denton public arts is only to increase the quality of life for its residents.
And, if you will, that didn't live up to that opportunity, and that means building upon the arts that are pre-existing, making art more available in the center of the city and the surrounding areas through sculpture, murals, public art, performing arts. There are so many venues in this city that lend themselves to highlighting the value.
Says that Denton could become the foremost city for performing arts. Arts funding is actually the smallest of the bond issues at a little over $6,000. The largest bond issues on the ballot, $154 million, would go to improve streets. Dinah Davis, NT Daily News.
In addition to the bond proposals in Denton, voters across the state will weigh in on 10 proposed amendments to the Texas Constitution. Early voting began yesterday and runs through November 1st. Election Day is November 5th. For more information, go to votetexas.gov.
The presidential impeachment process is underway. We'll tell you the latest when we return.
He was a skater boy. She said, "See you later, boy," when she hit me with her car and killed me. As a licensed driver, it's your responsibility to share the road with people who may be on the sidewalk, on the bike lanes, on the road itself, whether they're walking, skating, biking, hydroplaning, hydroflasking, hyperboarding, whatever. It's important to give people 3 to 6 feet of clearance room on either side, so we're all a little bit safer. It's your responsibility to share the road.
With the groove, show proof, keep it smooth as I bust the move. Ayo, step in swiftly with me.
weeks after the announcement of a formal impeachment inquiry, Donald Trump made his way to Dallas and held a rally at the American Airlines Center. But one of his opponents was not going to let him pass through without a fight. NT Daily's Noah Borden has the story.
On one end, the president.
I am thrilled to be here, deep in the heart of Texas.
And on the other, one of his many opponents.
We, those of us here together, standing to be counted, are the answer to that fear.
The president seeking re-election, while Beto O'Rourke looks to gain traction in the Democratic race for the White House. This is the tale of two rallies, held at the same time, just 30 minutes apart. Over 25,000 citizens flooded the streets of Dallas to attend the Trump rally, creating a line nearly a mile long, some in support and some in protest. Supporters had lined up for hours, some even a day in advance, to make sure they were able to get into the American Airlines Center, which has a max capacity of 20,000.
If I don't get in there, it's still worth it. The experience, being part of history, being part of the movement, I love it. I love every bit of it.
The president talked about the current state of Texas, a red state that has become more blue in recent years.
It's never been a better time to be a proud Texan.
Even though Beto has lost ground in the polls, Trump did not hesitate to take a few shots at his close proximity rival.
A very dumb Democrat candidate for president, that's the end of him in this state, pledged to revoke the tax-exempt status of many churches and religious charities.
At the Verizon Theater in Grand Prairie, a smaller crowd of about 5,500 attended O'Rourke's rally against fear. But while the numbers were lower, the passion was all the same. Beto gave his stance on Trump's presidency, immigration, and gun control.
At a time that some would want to build cages for kids or walls to divide us, we're building bridges to connect us.
Even with a crowd of over 20,000 people supporting the opposition just 30 minutes away, Beto's dedicated supporters were not intimidated.
They don't scare me one bit, because I know that all of these people here, my friends, all of these other people here, Americans, they are going to be behind us all the way come November.
It was the tale of two rallies.
And we will make America great again.
Both fighting to win the second largest state in the country in what will undoubtedly be yet another historic election.
I love you guys. I will see you down the road on the trail.
Reporting for NT Daily News, I'm Noah Borden.
The president's next stop is in Missouri on November 1st, and Beto will hold his next rally in Iowa on October 23rd.
According to a CNN source, allies of Trump are pushing President Trump to accept impeachment terms. Trump compared his impeachment to a lynching in a tweet this morning. Ukraine Ambassador William B. Taylor is expected to be removed from his post and was issued a subpoena by the House Intelligence Committee. Taylor testified today and with an opening statement that took an hour according to several people in the room. The testimony happened in front of 3 House committees. New Jersey Rep. Tom Malinowski said the testimony resolved any doubt she may have. President Trump compared his impeachment to a lynching in a tweet this morning.
Canadian voters reflected Justin Trudeau as Prime Minister of Canada. Trudeau's party won 157 of 338 seats in the House of Commons. However, the Conservative Party won the popular vote, meaning he will be head of a Liberal minority government. The Conservative Party won 34% of the votes, while Trudeau's Liberal Party was at 33%. This comes after a picture surfaced showing the Prime Minister wearing brown face at a party in 2001. Trudeau has been in office for 4 years.
Coming up, find out why a former teacher with a bachelor's degree in mathematics had to leave a job he loved.
Why?
I see you mobbing over her. Let's go. Let's mob. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Hey yo, we mobbing. Come on, girl. Let's crawl. Hey yo, let's crawl. Hey yo, let's crawl. Hey, let's crawl. Hey yo, let's crawl.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back. You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Every time I hear the alarm bell go off in school, I think it's an air raid.
A lot of houses in our neighborhood have been destroyed. I like to close my ears and sing songs whenever the bombs come close.
I'm worried our new neighbors won't like us.
But I know it's all gonna be worth it. I just want my family to be safe. But these are not my words.
These are not my words.
These are not my words.
A former Denton Ryan High School teacher is currently in the process to renew his work permit again through DACA, or Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. NT Daily's Brianna Castanon first sat down with him 2 years ago and found out things have only gotten more complicated for him since then.
Let's go back in here. In here,
2 years ago, a roller coaster began for math teacher Cristobal Ceseñas when forms to renew his work visa were considered late, even though he mailed them in well before time.
it was starting to feel real. I was like, what the heck am I gonna do if I lose my job, you know? I'm gonna have to work under the table. I'm gonna have to work as a construction worker.
The last date of his work permit was only getting closer. After speaking with lawyers, human resources, and his principal, the realization was he was going to lose his job, and soon. Ceseñas decided to tell his students his second to last day he would not be returning.
After the third period left, the last of my actual classes left, I closed the door and I locked myself in, and I cried for like 30 minutes.
Law professor Huynh Pham believes there are a lot of complex legal issues, and the court's decision to keep, take away, or modify DACA as a way to be here legally will depend on its interpretation of different legal principles.
A lot of folks who qualify for DACA have very compelling stories. They've grown up in the U.S. They don't know any other country. They've got community ties here. They're contributing to our economy and to our communities. So lots of compelling stories. In any immigration system, they would be low priorities for deportation.
The day after leaving the district, Ceseñas vividly remembers waking up jobless with nothing but time on his hands.
It is an uncomfortable feeling to have. Like, anytime, whatever reason, you're illegal, you could just be like, hey, we're taking you back to Mexico, man. Even though you don't know the place, we'll drop you off somewhere. Figure it out from there. It's a scary feeling.
He started to apply for any job he could find. When it came to the question of working legally, sometimes he would check yes, and other times he would check no. One of his memories was an application to Olive Garden.
You have a bachelor's degree in mathematics? Yeah. He's like very direct. What are you doing applying here? And I was like, I need a job. Like, okay. As a waitress? Yeah, that's what I want to do. He's like, I don't think this is the best fit for you.
A federal judge in the Northern California district held that the termination of DACA was illegal and issued an injunction.
Anytime you enforce laws, you have a lot of discretion as to how those laws are enforced.
The injunction allows Ceseñas to reapply for renewal, and this time it was granted. He temporarily subbed because it was a quick job.
They had a picture of me in the janitor's closet with a little candle because they would pray for me, all the janitors. I remember seeing that and they're like, oh yeah, we've been having that since we heard that you were we're trying to help somewhere or another. And it was painful to see that. It's hard to go teach a class right after that.
Ceseñas now works at BNSF Railways.
I work in a job that provides means to survive, and I'm happy. But it's not the same feeling as teaching.
Ceseñas is currently working on renewing his visa again, and while he won't be a teacher anytime soon, he hopes to one day return to the classroom. Brianna Castañón, NT Daily News.
Long-term prospects for DACA are going to depend on what the Supreme Court decides this term. In the meantime, applications for renewal have continued to be accepted. The UNT Eagle Dreamers and LULAC co-hosted a I Stand for Immigrants protest in the Library Mall this afternoon. The gathering is to raise awareness of the ongoing issues surrounding DACA and the Dreamers movement. With the impeachment of Trump gaining traction, many DACA recipients hope they may have answers sooner rather than later.
Coming up, find out how food delivery drivers work like employees but are not viewed as such by the companies they work for.
Here we go. We're gonna go out there in the rain. Gonna get wet. All right, here we go. Okay, quick. Oh yeah, yes. So much fun. Mwah. We're getting so wet.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes? B, console her?
Don't worry, sweetie. This is gonna happen a lot.
Or C, find her a new boyfriend?
Nice, single boys. That was weird.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Food delivery services like DoorDash and Uber Eats grow more popular every day. So to keep up with the new and increasing influx of pickup orders, restaurants are changing policies and order systems for a smoother transition. I spoke with the Chipotle representative and former DoorDash driver about how these food delivery services have affected them. Delivery services are working with restaurants to make online ordering easier for customers. DoorDash and Chipotle partnered together and have come up with drive-thrus called Chipotle Lanes for drivers and other online customers to use.
Currently, we have about 20 Chipotle Lanes open right now. By the end of the year, there should be several dozen.
Reagan says some customers still prefer to pick up their orders inside.
It's a learning curve for some people since it's still new to the area, but I know that they're opening more right now, so it's going to be something that's going to be more common with Chipotle as we move forward.
And as DoorDash moves forward, so has its tipping policies and driver pay after criticism from drivers and customers. Tipping policies for companies like DoorDash and Uber Eats are crucial for drivers because they work as independent contractors. This means they set their own hours and have limited obligations to the company, as well as the company to them. The freelance-like work can help people with non-traditional hours or unique situations to still bring home an income.
I was hit by a drunk driver and I lost my job. I was like, I need a job, something that's easy on me, it's not too much, and I can manage my own self. You know, if I wanted a break, I can have a break. And somebody told me about DoorDash.
Franklin delivered full-time for DoorDash and Uber Eats until the effects of being placed in a coma forced him to give up his car. Despite the widespread criticism from the media and DoorDash users, he says he made nearly $700 weekly with DoorDash while working 6 days a week.
It took $30 to fill up my tank, but I made that back probably after 4 deliveries.
The company's website says drivers can expect to make up to $25 an hour.
I was making a good $17 to about $19 an hour.
Under the old policy adopted in 2017, drivers' tips went toward offsetting the cost of a guaranteed minimum payment for an order, which meant their take-home pay would not increase even if the customer tipped. After a recent review of the payment structure, the company recently said drivers are now receiving 100% of their tips.
NASA had its first all-female spacewalk last week. Astronauts Christina Koch and Jessica Meir made history when they took the trek into space alone. Meir says the experience was life-changing.
It was really an incredible experience, and it's
difficult to put it into words, the mixture of emotions and feelings that you have when you're going out the door the first time.
Coke credits those who paved the way before her for allowing such an incredible feat to even be possible.
Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you next time for NT Daily News.